Hey, Facebook. Greetings, everybody. We are back for another day of the live video challenge. Thank you guys for joining me. If you are live, say hello, drop some flames, dab on me in the comments. If you are catching the replay, then hashtag replay for me. This week, we have been talking about reading proficiently or increasing your child's ability to read proficiently, right? So all week long, we've been chatting about reading. Monday, I shared with you guys a chapter from Barrington Learns to Read. On Tuesday, we talked about who the book is for and the fact that it's written on 3rd and 4th grade level. However, the lesson and the main idea of the book is really applicable for all grade levels. And I think pretty much anybody could really learn from it and apply the information that they learned in the book, right? On Wednesday, we started getting into the nitty gritty of my quick tips for increasing your child's ability to read proficiently. And prior to us jumping in, right before we jump into the nitty gritty tonight, if there's anybody out there who happens to come across my video and who is not familiar with who I am Manisha Lamb, writer and author, writing mentor and author and founder of the Pretty Geeky Kids Club, which is a holistic approach to fundamental learning, providing solutions that yield results. I'm a little tongue twisted tonight for some reason, but we're going to keep it rolling. All right, so on Wednesday, we talked about how comprehension starts even before you open the book, right? So in conversations that you're having with your child, whenever you guys are in the grocery store, you're sitting around the house chilling, you're watching a movie, they're playing video games, having conversations with them, spending more time together, less time apart, making sure that you are stimulating the parts of their brains that allow them to think critically, right? So asking them the 5 W's, who, what, when, where, why, and the 1 H, how. Making sure that they're starting to think about things a little bit differently and not so surface level. So having those conversations in real everyday situations, that practice actually can run over into their classroom. It can run over into their work and help them out and become stronger reading, right? So that was the first tip. Second tip was we have to show them, we have to model to them the behavior that we want to see in them. So that involves us reading to them, us discussing the main ideas of the book, really bringing them into how we break down and critically think about the text, right? So who is doing what are they doing, when did it do it, when did they do it, where, why did they do it, and how, right? So solving those problems in the book, identifying what the problem is, and then obviously identifying what that solution is. So really kind of bringing them in to us playing the lead role in that. We're driving that comprehension vehicle at that point when we're showing them. Tonight, we're going to go into the observation and the shaping. So this acronym is actually SOS. I learned this while working in corporate America. Whenever we would have new employees come in, we would SOS them. So during the training process, we would show them what it is that they needed to learn how to do. And then we would observe them doing it, and then we would shape the way that they did it, right? So shaping just means that you offer them tips for how to improve it, how to become more efficient, how to become stronger. When they're making mistakes, you show them the correct way to do it, right? So the same thing is true with helping our children improve their reading skills. So as we are showing them and modeling that behavior, we then allow them to take the wheel. We allow them to jump in the driver's seat and start reading themselves, start processing and critically thinking through the text, through those pages of the books that they're reading. And we're asking them questions and really allow them to think for themselves, right? Now, also in the same token, as we are observing them and how they process this information, we are shaping them as well. So that means that if they're not thinking deeply enough, kind of push them a little further, really get them thinking past the surface level. If maybe they answer the question and they only do it partially, just kind of pushing them a little more so they understand that it's not just the who. We have to also mention the what, right? And we have to also mention the when and the why. I was talking with my mom tonight, and she really shared something that I thought was just so cool. She said, whenever your child is answering questions, And we'll get into how they're answering the questions a little later. We're going to get into this extra thing that I feel like is going to be crucial to the comprehension for your children. When they're answering questions, have them to make a list, or you can make a list. Have a task card with the 5 W's and the 1 H up there. As they're reading the questions, have them to circle which of those 5 W's and the 1 H's apply to the question being asked. And in them answering the question, they can kind of cross out each of those 5 W's and the 1 H's as they answer the question, right? So the last little tip, a last little cherry on top, if you will, for the observation and the shape is a writing piece. So about 2 days ago, when we initially started talking about writing proficiently, Diana shared that in her house with her son, she has him to do a lot of writing, and I love that so much. That's the reason why I wanted you guys to share what you're doing in your households, because you never know who you may inspire. But writing, I always knew I was going to come into that this week, because writing is so telling, right? So even if it's not homework related, reading something that your child has written will let you know so much about the things that they're thinking about, the things that they feel comfortable talking about, the things that they need more help on, right? So with this part, with writing in comprehension, it really shows you what else they need practice on. So in addition to having them retell, hey mom, in addition to having them verbally retell you what they've read, also have them to write it out, right? Because that's going to let you know whether or not they really understand it. I've come across a lot of children who are able to, yes, writing is so important for comprehension. I've come across a lot of children who are able to tell you what they've read, right? They're able to tell you what they read, but when it comes to writing it down, there's something missing. There's some type of disconnect there. And I think that's really going to be important for you parents out there whenever you are helping your children become stronger with comprehension, is making sure that they're writing. If for no other reason, because, I mean, they're being tested on it, obviously, right? So that's one reason that it's really important. But obviously, writing is not just important now. It's going to be important when they get into middle grades, when they get into high school, and they're turning in papers. I don't know if you guys do senior projects anymore now, but whenever I was in school, we had to do senior projects that were long, and yeah, you were graded on so much grammar, punctuation, style. So it's so much things that have to be taken into account. And we're not even talking about when you get in college and you're thinking about going to grad school. Like, that's just papers altogether. So we really want to start them early, right? We don't want to wait until they're being tested on written comprehension. We want to start them as early as possible. So as I was saying earlier, my mom mentioned if you write down the 5 W's and the 1 H, as they are answering their questions and they're writing it out, have them to circle which of those words is being asked in the question. So if they're asking a question and you need to answer the who or the what and the why or any combination of those, have them to circle each of them. And as they're writing their question, their answer out to the question, have them to mark through. Yes, it's so important to concentrate on that writing. Have them to mark through the words as they answer the question, right? So if they're retelling Barrington Learns to Read, and I'm asking them to tell me what happens in the beginning, right? So as you're talking about what happens in the beginning, we're going to be talking about some who in there. We're going to talk about some what, and we're going to be talking about when, obviously. So you're going to need to circle all 3 of those, and then as you touch on each of those points, cross it out. That will let your child know that they've completely answered that question. When my mom was telling me this, I was like, oh my God, that is so smart, right? Because a lot of kids are visual, so it helps them to kind of get it out of their head. I don't want to have to concentrate so much on making sure I got everything. Let me just write it out. And then once they get into the practice of it and they feel really comfortable, they won't have to write it out anymore. They won't have to do that. However, in the beginning, as we're starting to put in place these really good habits, it's good to just put it out there. Just be visual. Just make sure that you're checking off your boxes, if you will, making sure that you're hitting all of your points. And I do not take credit for the idea. That was my mom, Lily Lanier, who came up with that, but I am going to be using it. So if you decide to incorporate it, awesome. Let me know how it works for you and your children as you're working through it. But I think that going back to a point that someone mentioned earlier, writing is so important to comprehension. Writing, to me, I consider to be like a window. It will show you everything. I'm serious. It will show you so much. this year I've been working with a group of 6th graders, and we've been journaling, and we've been talking about goals and where we see ourselves in 5 and 10 years, and all of this stuff. Angela says, thanks, Mom. We've been talking about all this stuff, just really forward looking, right? And I've had some time to think about it as I've been reading their entries, and I'm hoping that parents and teachers alike will start to incorporate more journaling in their curriculum if they haven't already, or start to incorporate it in your homeschooling or your home practices as you're doing homework. Because I'm telling you, when these children, it's something about writing that really opens a child up, and they just release everything. They just will tell you everything. And I think it helps to be, if you're a teacher and you're the front of the class, it helps you to know some of these things that they might not share with you verbally. It helps you to know some of the things that they share with you in their writing, because it could be telling with their behavior, or they might not be 100% with it this year. Today they might not be 100% with it. Maybe they're not feeling good. They're a little bit to themselves today. Have them to write something. Have them do a morning writing prompt. And I promise you, it will reveal something to you. And I think it's really powerful. Like, I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to work with these kids this year, because it's taught me so much just about really tapping into my emotions and whatever it is that I'm feeling, and kind of letting things out. But to not go too far off on a tangent, I could talk about writing all night, but we're here to talk about writing comprehension. Just a second. Angela says, every year at summer school, I started each class with creative writing every single day, and they loved it. I gave them one word and let them write their first thoughts. I think that's awesome. I really do think it's awesome. Me and my mom was talking tonight, and I shared with her my idea of having like a fishbowl in a class, or a jar, and in that fishbowl or that jar having topics from things that you discussed that week, whether it be Barrington Learns to Read, or whether it be grammar, cups, capitalization, usage, punctuation, spelling, whatever topic you discussed that week. Cut it up and put it on little slips of paper, and have your student or your child go into that jar and pick it out. And whatever they pick out, they have to write something. They have to articulate their thoughts about whatever it is. And I think that it will be really telling to the parent or the teacher who does this, because one, you're going to be able to figure out their how much they understand this, and whether or not you need to review some things with students. But it may shed some light on some other areas as well. And I think hey, Antonia, thanks for joining me. I think that it will be a really good practice for you guys, and I hope that you decide to try it. And if you do, please feel free to come back and share with me, because I really do want to hear your feedback. For those of you who are watching live, I do want to hear what you guys are doing at home to increase reading proficiency in your little ones, because you never know, what you share may be helpful to someone else who may be watching. And just to recap, because I don't want to keep you guys long, I know it's Friday night and you guys might want to go get your groove on, but to recap, quick tip number 1 was comprehension starts even before you open the book. It starts with conversations with your child in the grocery store, watching movies, obviously reading books, playing video games, anything that allows you guys to really open up and talk to one another is a chance for them to comprehend something on a deeper level, because you can ask those questions, right, and have them to think just a little bit deeper than the surface. Tip number 2 was make sure that you guys are showing that you're modeling the behavior that you want to see in your child. So read with them, let them see you process the text, share with them what the main idea is, walk them through it. It's okay to give them the answers, especially when you are going over a concept for the first time. Walk them through it, show them how it's done so they can see it, and then they can replicate it, right? The third step is to observe. Allow them to take the seat, allow them to drive the car, allow them to get in and read the book and process the information for you. And at that point, you can go into step 4, which is to shape their behaviors. So work with them on thinking a little deeper, pushing a little more. If they're writing, set a number of words that you would like their sentence to be. For instance, with me and Corvin, I like for him to write sentences that have 6 words or more in them. Just because sometimes they will write a sentence that says, I like to play ball, and it needs to go a little deeper than that. I need you to give me a little bit more, to dig a little deeper in some of the things that you're sharing with me. So sometimes you have to set a limit on the words that they need to reach, right? And then the icing on the cake was the writing, to require your child to not just verbally retell you the story or verbally tell you about what they read, but to also write it out. Feel free to take any of the ideas that I've shared tonight. The first one was, whenever they're writing, maybe outline or use a task card with the 5 W's and the 1 H on the side. Have them to circle each of the one that is applicable to the question that's being asked. And as they answer that particular question, have them to mark it out. So on the left side, it could be who, what, when, where, why, and how. And if the question asks for who, what, and why, then circle those 3. And as they answer the questions, cross them out. That way they know that they've answered the question completely. Second idea for you guys to incorporate, using a fishbowl or a jar. Put different topics up there that you've worked on with your child for the week or in your classroom. Cut up little strips of piece of paper, write down the topics, put them in the jar. He comes in, pull one out, and then he has to write about that topic. I think these ideas would be awesome, and I would love for you to try them and give me your feedback on how well they work. Don't forget to share what you're doing at home. And that's it, guys. That's all I got for you tonight. I hope that you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope that you found value in it. If you did, please share it with your friends. You never know who may be looking for some of this information to incorporate into their own lives. And let's see, what else do I have for you? Oh, obviously, Parenting Learns to Read is on sale at Amazon.com. The link is up top. And if you want to get a copy of these quick tips for reading proficiency, just click the link above, subscribe, and I will get those emailed out to you. Oh, one last announcement before I close off for the night. We are going live with subscriptions on the 15th. And guess what? I've made some changes. Instead of the 3 tiers, I've broken it down to just one. And guess how much it is? $4.99 a month. I did that for you. That's how much I love y'all. So that's all I have for you guys tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're watching live, don't forget to say hello if you haven't already. And if you're watching on replay, #replay. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Have a great night.